The GunZ Remastered first beta has just ended, and there were some things that were alarming to me. So I just wanted to make a quick little video giving my overall sentiment on how I think we should move forward as a community. Let's get right to it. First of all, thank you to the devs for finally getting an official playable version of the game up for the first time in 12 years. I appreciate the effort that has gone in thus far. Before I talk about the specifics of the beta, what was right and what was wrong, I just want to give a general sentiment about the beta and how this community has reacted to it. As a community, let's give Msangsoft some grace. This was their first attempt at releasing something, and obviously it wasn't perfect. I mean, this was the default field of view, which sent the community into a flurry for a bit, and understandably. But ultimately, the field of view in this first beta really doesn't matter. This video won't be about weapon stats or specific issues within the beta, more about how we, as the diehard guns community, should view the development process of this server. This footage was all captured during the beta, by the way, so while you're waiting for beta-specific content, you can check out the gameplay here or go to my channel. I left my live streams from the beta still up. The long-term success of GunZ wasn't going to be decided this past weekend, regardless of what was or wasn't in the beta. What's going to be important is how Msangsoft views and reacts to our feedback, and right now, I think all we can do is give them the benefit of the doubt. I would rather Msangsoft take a whole entire year listening to us to get this release right than to rush it out half-baked. We waited 12 years, what's one more? I do understand the diehards' frustration with the state of this release. We've been playing private servers that have been developed on for the last 12 years, or more even in some cases, since Area closed back in 2013. I want you guys to go back to 2013 and think about the state of GunZ at the time. Private servers, back then even, didn't have nearly the amount of quality of life that they do today. Obviously, I think in a perfect world, the developers from Msangsoft would have done a little research into the existing private servers to assure that the quality of life that's currently existing on these servers was there in theirs. However, I think that's a bit unrealistic. I think it's much more realistic to realize that these developers have the version of the game that went offline in 2013, and they've been working on remastering it over the last year, and they didn't focus on quality of life. They actually focused on core systems that will drive the game's growth. So before the current diehards lose their minds on them or continue losing them, please consider this. You've been playing unofficial, private versions of the game for the last 12 years. The developers already know that there's a core audience of 200-ish to 500-ish people who consistently play private servers. But understand that 200 to 500 people isn't going to make a successful remaster of GunZ. From GunZ's inception, the casual spraying deathmatcher, or quester, or even casual case styler is the much more common player to run into outside of the present-day private servers. The developers need to appeal to these casual players for their game to be successful, so when you see the entire UI reworked, character models updated, and other updates to the client that you might see as pointless, understand those changes aren't for you. They're for the casual player they're trying to pull in, to get thousands of questers back online, to make money and be a successful game. As important as us sweaty tryhards are to the game, we aren't everything. In fact, we're probably about 5 to 10% of what the ultimate goal of what Msangsoft is trying to do here. I think that all the changes to the maps, UI, character models, animations, they're good for the game, and they weren't wrong to focus on these things before the quality of life patches. By the way, before anyone asks, the gameplay is still identical. They really just focused on polish, and none of the mechanics of the game have changed at all. The competitive, tryhard community has always been a very small fraction of the player base, but they're also the loudest. Present-day players might not know this, but when there were 200 active Clan War players, there were at least 6,000 active questers. When there were nearly 1,000 active players in Clan War near the start of EG, there would have been 10,000 or more casual players at that time. The ratio has always been that way, and we've always been the minority in this community until right now because we were addicted and kept playing the private servers. I think my channel's viewership is actually a bit of proof of that. Clearly, there's a decent chunk of players out there who are interested in my GunZ content. I get far more views on GunZ content every month than there are active private server players. I try to make content that can appeal to anyone, regardless of your skill level in GunZ. I make sure the recordings of my videos have the highest graphic settings because that stuff matters to casual viewers, where other creators just post montages and clips on ugly clean maps, and that's just more for the diehard players. I think me doing that is what attracts the more casual players who know of GunZ or used to play it when they were kids, and they're willing to try it out again when they're officially released. These players aren't going to download a private server or risk their PC when Windows Defender starts freaking out about the private server to kill quest bosses when the leaderboards on the server don't even matter, aren't official, and there's multiple P servers anyway fragmenting the player base. Those players, a lot of you viewers, would however play an official version of the game, I'd reckon. This is why I think it's important that the developers focused on the larger systems, UI, graphics, and things that us competitive players don't really care about, and what some of you are viewing as simply a waste of time. I think it's the harder part of the game to get right, and the quality of life stuff can hopefully quickly just be added later. Frankly, a lot of the quality of life stuff shouldn't be too hard to add to the game, at least I would think. What we need to do as a community, honestly, is just buckle in and be patient. Give the developers time to get this right, because honestly, Microsoft knows less about this game than the players who have been playing it for the last 20 years. That only makes sense with an IP so complex. When they bought it, I wonder if they even knew what they were getting into, honestly. Am I saying no matter what they do or release, we should support them? Absolutely not. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and to give you a better example, neither was old school RuneScape. Old school RuneScape is the most popular of the 2000s revival games, and for good reason. The development team was patient and got it together. But most importantly, they listened to their community. Through working with the community, they've hit peak player counts this summer of over 250,000 players online at once. To put that into perspective, a few months after Old School RuneScape was released, it had 20,000 players, and for all intents and purposes, it was considered dead. But through community polling and steady content releases, they've managed to make one of the most successful games of the last decade, far surpassing even their original MMO. GunZ, I really believe, can do that too, but it will take the developers really locking in and listening to this community. I've said it a few times already, but they need to hire a community manager who will be the face of the game, interact with the community, and let us know what is and isn't being considered by the development team. As of right now, it feels like official word gets spoken through Google Translate, and it just doesn't feel authentic or like they're necessarily listening, even if they are. A lot of people are upset that the developers acknowledged the field of view in their Q&A months ago, yet delivered the game without the FOV slider, causing large visibility issues for players. And while, yes, that's not great, let's not pull out our pitchforks until the next beta has the same issues. At that point, the developers would have ignored their community and we will actually have something to be mad about. But until then, genuinely, we should just be doing our best to support them, as this is pretty much our last and only hope for getting GunZ back. Alright guys, that's all I had. Just a quick little video on my sentiment and personal take on how we are reacting as a community to the beta and to the developers. And yeah, I have a ton of footage that I gathered from the beta, and there'll be way more beta-specific content that deep dives into the specifics of each individual decision they made and what I do and don't like, and the good and the bad and the ugly, and yeah. But for now, that's it. So, see ya.